But I told him I'll do the shir, but it's going to be a shorter shir than usual. I don't know how long usually the Bible group does it for, but we'll speak about a few inyanim. And one of them is the concept of Lech Lecha, which is the name of our Parsha, Lech Lecha. You know, what's fascinating about Judaism in general, and specifically the Parsha, is that words can mean everything.
Two, in more ways than one.
Sorry?
They
Yeah.
can mean everything.
Everything, I mean that beyond the literal meaning of the word, there is a story behind that word that makes the word timeless, be'emet. That's what we learn a message from this. So, for example, Lech Lecha. Like, imagine starting off a story with the words Lech Lecha, which means go on, move on, go ahead. And that's the beginning of the story of Avraham. We don't know much about him before. In the previous Parsha, it says that he was born. He was one of the two sons of Terach. But it does not mention anything about him. When did he hear about God? When did he discover God? When did he go and promote God? For example, there's a famous tale of Nimrod. Nimrod was very interesting because he was the ruler and the king, the head of the empire then. There was only one empire then. And he basically heard about Avraham, that Avraham used to talk to people about the existence of the one true God. And Nimrod did not like that, because Nimrod literally wanted to make himself into a god. The moment you really speak about the one true God, everything else gets put into the right perspective. So he threw Avraham into a burning oven, basically. It's a kivshan, a pit, a large pit, and they threw Avraham in, and he was miraculously saved. But there's not a one word in the Torah about that. And instead, the Torah starts off the whole relationship between Hashem and Avraham, and Avraham's life story himself, from the words Lech Lecha me'aretzecha milmoladetecha mebeis avicha, and it says like this, that Avraham is connected to Chokhmah, to wisdom. Why? Avraham was the first. The first sphira is Chokhmah. Avraham was the first. And not only that, the word, there is Avraham, but his first name was Avram. Avram, basically, it's two words that we connect them together. Av, which is the father. Ram, which is high. So we're talking about here the high father. What is the high father? This is the Secher HaNe'elam B'Kol Rayon. This is the inspiration that a person has, which is basically Chokhmah. And what do we have to do with this Chokhmah? What we have to do with this Chokhmah is we got to tell this Chokhmah Lech Lecha, which means move on. Start revealing and expressing these great ideas. And that is what we're telling Avraham in the story.
How did he first get the ideas?
Okay, it's a very good question. And that's, I can ask the same about inspiration. Where do you get an inspiration from? Not where did you get a inspiration. Where did you get the inspiration from? So the basic answer is that there's a hidden part to the soul, that from there, that's where you get your Chokhmah. Not only a hidden part in the soul, Chokhmah itself is such a trait that involves inspiration within it. That's basically the idea. So where did he get it from? He got it from himself. Okay. That's where we get an inspiration from. That's You've got to discover it within yourself. That's who you are. That's who Avraham was. He was different than others in the way that he was the first one to start it. And always the first, they say in Hebrew, kolat falot kashot. All the beginnings basically are difficult and hard. Any new start is a struggle. It's complicated. Why? Because when you do something it's the first time, the first place, the first person, whatever it is, there's something that you didn't withdraw the godly revelation within that part of the world. So for that reason, Avraham was unique. He wasn't like Yaakov. He wasn't like Yitzchak. Yaakov had a grandfather that was Avraham. Mm-hmm. Yitzchak had a father like Avraham. Avraham's father was the seller, the local distributor of idols. Mm-hmm. So for Avraham, he was Chokhmah. That is Chokhmah. It's powerful. And the purpose is for this Chokhmah to travel, to go down from one stage to the other, continue going down. And ultimately, once Chokhmah can reach the lower levels in the world, within the world itself, then ultimately that is when you can actually benefit and taste and experience the great ideas of Avraham. So in other words, if you would speak to Avraham, if you would have a one-on-one meeting with Avraham, it wouldn't be that interesting. He wouldn't have much to say. And why is that? For sure, he'll have a lot to say. But the point is that whatever he would say, it's still within the seed of the idea. And that is why for Avraham, his purpose ultimately is to travel and to go from one stage to the other, because only then Yaakov had what to tell his children. Yaakov had 12 sons, and he could tell them each night another story about Avraham, another story about Yitzchak, another story about himself, where he sees God in life. And that is the beginning of that revelation happens with actually what's called a tzimtzum and contraction. What does that mean? What's the concept behind a contraction? And by the way, that is the work of Yitzchak. Avraham was a powerful force, but that you cannot understand. You cannot really grasp, like Chokhmah itself, that you cannot grasp. What is inspiration? Why did you inspire yourself or others in this way specifically? There's no words to explain. Yitzchak says, 1 second, let's pause. Let's put things on hold. And through that contraction, what happens is that there's room for the details, there's room for explanation, etc. And that is Yitzchak. I'll give you here another example where it says, "Vayiher vayivaykar yom echad," and that's what it said, that in order for it to be okay, we'll see that a bit later. So one of the interesting things is that we see that there was a special mitzvah given to Abraham in this Parsha, and this is the mitzvah of bris milah, circumcision. And within the mitzvah of bris milah, as it says in Hasidus, the idea of bris milah is to remove the stubbornness and the natural connection to klippa and sitra. We want to move that away. We want to remove it. And what's interesting is that Avraham waited until he was age 99 to Hashem's command to do the bris. And after the bris, what does Hashem tell him? Now you are a father to many nations. Now you can call yourself the father of humanity. Why? Not everyone does a bris milah. On the contrary, only Jews do a bris milah. Muslims do something similar. But why now you become the father of all humanity? And that is because that is the beginning and the start of the contraction. That is the start of Avram after you are inspired. It's like a person being inspired, literally. He's so excited, he just heard that he won the lottery, he just heard that he won the Nobel Prize. The hostages are home, whatever it is. You're so excited, you cannot bring it down the Maaseh. But then Hashem said, you know what? You cannot be a leader, by the way, also at that point. You cannot really lead and make sure that your ideas continue to the next generation just with inspiration. It's very hard. It's possible, but it's very hard. So then Hashem says, one moment. Pause a second. The bris milah, that is the beginning and the start of the contraction of the tzit. Later, Yitzchak came, Isaac came, and even developed that even more. But now he can become the father of all humanity, which means now at this point we can recognize Hashem in the world in a much broader way. And that's the idea of Abraham becoming the father of humanity. Not only because his children, it's very interesting that children he gave him, he had more children besides Yitzchak, by the way, besides Ishmael, and he gave them gifts and he sent them away. But besides that literal idea of being the father of many nations because of the children that he had, it's more because of the idea that he presented. And that's the power of Avraham. There's something else that's also connected to that idea. It says, tzaddikim are like, they have a sense of bitul. And then it says that when Hashem sent us to exile, and we did not go to exile but for one reason. Why did we end up in different places? That is for the sparks of holiness to become nullified and to become reunited with Hashem's light. So in other words, if Avram wants to actually express who he is and become the father of all humanity, he must move to the side for one moment. And that's the idea of contraction. Here in the Midrash he speaks about, also for us, by the way, that the purpose of exile is to add, and like we spoke about at Hayom Yom, I think we spoke about in one of the Shirim, that righteous people, they know where their sparks of holiness are waiting. And they direct themselves to that place. The regular people don't know that. A lot of other people are not aware, they're not sure. And when Avram, and so that means that ultimately we all are Avram in a certain way. And this is where we have to also have this inspiration, but also be able to withhold for one moment in order to expand to the next level. Sometimes, in life you've got to pause as well. And many times we don't like it. If you pause, it's like you all swim well. So if you get thrown into the deep end, there's something about just staying there and being able to float that is harder than actually swimming. To swim, everyone can pretty much swim, can move themselves. And if you do it in a professional way, then great. Swimming, all good and fine. But just staying there in the deep end and being able to float and to just see and to look and to absorb the world around you and yourself, that's a different thing. And that's Yitzchak, when we went to the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, so the Ulam Yitzchak, the hall of Yitzchak, that's the most important. Why? So, first of all, there is the entrance to Gan Eden is there in Ulam Yitzchak. I don't know again, technically, maybe it could have been organized in a different way. But that's how things are. But Yitzchak was so powerful because what happened with Yitzchak is that the Philistines came over to him. We read about the fights that Avram had with the Philistines. And over there, Avram had to, it was a whole balagan, Avram had to go to them initially, if I'm not mistaken. Afterwards, they came over and also spoke to him. But Yitzchak was the only one that people actually came and made peace with him without him doing anything. He didn't fight any major wars. He didn't leave Chutz La'aretz. Since Yitzchak was a olat mimai, was a pure offering. He was a wholesome and complete offering to Hashem. And why is that? It's because sometimes if you are able to float in the middle of the deep end, then the opportunities will come to you. The world will make peace with you. If you are swimming all the way to the other side and you're aiming to get there, it's fantastic. It's good. You're going to get there, by the way. But the world's not going to get to you.
You're also pushing stuff away.
And you're pushing stuff away, correct? And that's the only way to progress. And that's what's special about Yitzchak. By the way, it says that when Mashiach will come, Yitzchak will be our father. Yeah? Yitzchak. And not only that, but it says Yitzchak comes from the word tzchok, laughter. We're not allowed to fully laugh now. Even if you have a good joke, it shouldn't be with a complete laughter. Why? Because it's not a time to be 100% happy. But when Mashiach will come, that's the time that we will be besimcha, with a lot of happiness and joy. And this is the story. This is the story of Yitzchak and how Yitzchak is so special. And not only his story, but our story as well. Avraham, he's the inspiration. Yitzchak's the one that says, well, wait a second. Let's see how does that inspiration fit in with the world around you. And in such a way that you don't feel that you have to prove anything, force anything. Just pause for a second. Contract. Remove yourself from the place. And Yaakov, maybe we'll speak about Yaakov afterwards. Yaakov brings a good ending to the whole idea. He represents harmony. We'll see that. Yeah. By the way, when Hashem says to Avram, and this has to do with all of the tzaddikim from the times of Avram, where until the days of Avram, in other words, when it came to Dor HaMabul, what happened is that during Dor HaMabul, and before that, the world was still a chaotic world. And sometimes we like to say that the world of chaos was before creation, or right at the beginning. No, the world of chaos was until Avram. Avram started Olam HaTikun, fixing the world, putting it in order. And that's why it says, Lech Lecha, you should go. And what is the purpose? El ha'aretz asher ha'areka, to the land that I will show you. What is to the land that I will show you? I will show you. Which means you will be able to express yourself. And that's the purpose. When we're asking, where did Abraham, what was his purpose? This is another pitgam, another saying. It's not directly linked, but when are you able to test the person's qualities? When he's at home, so you're not going to see his qualities. When he's on the way, you could see his qualities. You see how he deals with stress. You see how he initiates. You see what are his principles, values, etc. Yeah.
Before he had to go to Egypt.
Technically, how many years? I'm not sure the exact amount of years, but it wasn't a long time. It wasn't a long time. He came from Haran, up north, Syria, went down all the way down to Beersheba, or Haloch v'Nasoah Hanegba. Even then, it wasn't just one place. He went back and forth and Shlech, basically, from one place to the other. And then he went to Egypt. Okay. What's the time now?
8:21.
8:21. So we'll pause over here. We'll stop here.